Hello, everybody. Thanks for joining us here on the ice, brought to you by our friends at Dokes Brookfield's Case Financial Group, Toby Hockey, and Pilot Mount Hockey Academy. Tonight's guest, he's no stranger to the show. He's been on here a couple of times before, and I've actually been able to work with him back in our days when we were working with the Winnipeg Jets prior to this wonderful 2 years of craziness. But he's back coaching the 11-year-old squad for the Brick Invitational 2022, heading to Edmonton, Alberta. Head coach JP Vigier of the Manitoba Junior Ice is sitting down with me tonight to discuss putting together the team, the expectations, and what the kids will really enjoy about being in Edmonton at the end of June, but also the preparations and why he still does what he does and why he is a hockey. He just loves this. He's such a great person to talk to about hockey. I mean, I love talking to this gentleman. He's got some wonderful stories, great insight on the game, and I hope these young stars get a little bit of a tidbit here or there from him as well. So, on the ice tonight, please welcome head coach of the Manitoba Junior Ice 11-year-old squad, JP Vigier. JP, thanks for taking the time to join me. How are you doing this fine day?
We're good, thank you. Sun's shining, we're ready to rock.
Isn't it amazing what happens when the sun is shining as opposed to raining for 25 straight days? It's absolutely gorgeous out here today.
Oh, and I had a great winter of minus 50 for 2.5 months. It felt like it just dragged on. But yeah, now the grass is very green because we have lots of water and we get to go outside and enjoy some sunshine.
Absolutely. Is it hard to get the kids rallied together when it's so nice outside for practices and preparing for spring and summer hockey?
I think it does sometimes, right? Like the kids have just been like us adults. They've been cooped up inside hockey rinks all winter. They want to get outside. They want to get to the beach. They want to do different things. And that's totally fine. But, we try and manage that. We try and talk to them about, okay, we're here for an hour. We're here for an hour and a half. Let's give us a good focus. Let's make sure we progress and do the things we expect and the things that we want them to develop in and create a little mini culture for the young players to really soak their teeth into.
We'll talk about our discussions with the 11-year-olds as opposed to adults in just a second. But before we get to that, JP, you love hockey. I mean, first of all, you never had spring and summer hockey growing up, but I had a little bit of it growing up. And now we're seeing it full blown in every age, like 10, 11-year-olds all the way up to juniors and whatnot. And it's not just, playing games, but also the preparation of the game. It's a 12-month, it's like a job for a lot of these kids. How do you continue your passion for the game, JP, and giving back to the next generation, I guess the second generation now, because these kids, 10, 11 years old, and they want to play hockey.
Yeah. And, you love that they have the passion for the game and that they want to, they want to emulate their idols, the Matthews, the Ovechkins, the Stamkoses, all those guys. So that's really exciting for them to have those idols and to try and follow them. I think as a lead in the sport, you have to manage their time on ice. You have to tell them, okay, we're taking, the month of July off because you've been working very hard. We don't want to over fatigue your muscles. We don't want to create chronic injuries as you get older. So you have to be the adult in the room and tell them. And sometimes you have to have a conversation with the parents because they get excited as well and they want the best for their kid. And their kid is achieving greatness, but there's a long way to go. When you're 10, you felt you've grinded a lot of hockey and underneath your belt, but let's be realistic. You haven't started anything yet.
So true, JP. Talk about a little bit of your career has been. You've been like the Johnny Cash. You've kind of been everywhere. A little bit in the NHL, the AHL, down south. I believe you played in Florida. Is that correct? And then
That's
overseas.
correct. Yeah. So I had a 12-year professional career. I started, all the way from the Portage Terriers in the MJHL. Got myself a scholarship in the year was, we're going to date ourselves here. 1996 to Northern Michigan University. Played 4 full years there, graduated with a degree in physical education, and moved on, signed a contract with the Atlanta Thrashers, played with the organization for 7 years, 1 year with the Orlando Solar Bears of the IHL, moved on to the American Hockey League for a few years, won back-to-back championships, one with Orlando, one with Chicago, played a cup of tea in the National Hockey League with the Atlanta Thrashers, and then in 2006, 2007, with the NHL moving to younger, stronger, faster, better players. Made my way overseas to Switzerland and played 5 years there, understanding that it was time for a change. And it was a great 5 years in Switzerland. One of my daughters is born there. We got to play for the Spangler Cup as a young man. I never got to put on a Maple Leaf jersey till I was in my 30s at the Spangler Cup, so that was an honor for me. Got to play in 5, won a championship there as well. 5 years in Switzerland, 2 with Geneva, Switzerland, 3 with Bern, won a championship there with Bern. And then the 2012-2013 lockout kind of was the end of me. I was looking for a place to play, wanted to play a few more years. The lockout happened. All the young NHL studs went overseas, took a lot of jobs, and that was the end of me. And we needed to find ourselves and started digging our heels into minor hockey, helping coaches, and really trying to keep our passion for the game there while, finding a new identity for ourselves, kind of a early midlife crisis, I guess you would have to say, to get through everything.
You now work just outside of Winnipeg. You run a development program. Tell us a little about that, JP, outside of working with the junior ice program.
Yeah, so basically we run development hockey camps year-round for Vigier Hockey. We run anywhere from 6-7-year-olds all the way to the junior pro players. We look at advancing players' careers, using our past gains, experiences, and failures to help young players achieve their goals and kind of guide them. There's a lot of information out there now in the hockey world, and we spend a lot of time trying to educate the players on what's the right avenue for them, but not making the decision for them, giving them the correct information. Is it the WHL? Is it NCAA? Is it something else? Making sure that they get the right path that fits their identity and which helps them grow as a player as well.
So, JP, let's go a little further back in the Wayback Machine. We got a little bit earlier than 96, 97. Do you recall when you were 10 years old, 11 years old, and what it was like being a young hockey player? And compare it to this year and this day and age when you see 10, 11-year-olds having the opportunities they do. Is there any comparison we can make, or is the fact that we just, at the same age, we just love playing hockey?
Well, there's lots of different comparisons. Let's talk about equipment. Equipment that the kids have now is insane. I had a Sherwood 50-30. I weighed about 75 pounds, I think. I could break it over someone's forearms and the stick wouldn't budge. Kids have equipment that is unbelievable and bar none and tailored for young players. Back then, we just had equipment, the long gloves, the goofy helmets, the skates that kind of fit but didn't always fit. But now the kids have, specified equipment, flexes for them, gloves that fit, and so it's very interesting that. But really, if you think about it, what's the things you love? You love being at the rink. You love playing hockey. You have no idea what the score is at the end of the day. If you could tell me if you won a championship or not at 10 or 11, you're better than I am, because I couldn't tell you if we won one game or lost every game. We went out and had fun. I know playing in the dressing room with my buddies, mini sticks in the hallways at the hotels, those things don't change. And I think that's what you remember. And you try and teach that to the kids. This is the best time of your life, because as you get older, responsibility comes in and there is no just mini sticks anymore. It's life and learning.
Absolutely. You've obviously, with Vigier Hockey and throughout your career as a coach, you've dealt with, like you said, young stars as young as 6, working with players that are heading into the dub, into the collegiate levels. How do you prepare yourself talking to a group of 11-year-olds, and what do you have to change in your structure so that they're getting the message the right way, and the important message is getting through?
Yeah, and it's been a challenge, right? And I have 2 girls at home. They're 13 and 16, so I've learned to communicate and listen a little bit better with their expertise of guiding me. But let's be clear. I think being able to show these kids something, because these are technically what they would call the elite players at this level. So they've been the best on all their teams, and we're bringing them in to an environment where they may not be as good as what they were against their last opponent. So we're looking to teach them to continue to grow their game and challenge them to think about hockey and not just goals and assists and saves. We're teaching them about the little things in hockey. How do we chip the puck out of our zone? How do we support our teammates? Where do we go at this time? So when they progress, they can understand that there's more than goals and assists in the game of hockey, because when you see the NHL in the playoffs now, Stamkos is blocking 5 shots a game. He's sliding all over the place, teaching the kids that there is more to hockey than just the glory parts of it, and teaching them the finer intricacies of when to do what and how to do it. It's very important because when they play in their winter leagues, they always have the puck. They're the best players, and playing without the puck is not always easy. And that's something I hope to teach them early. So when they progress, they get the puck more often.
90% of the game, 95% of the game is played without the puck on your stick. And it's hard for an 11-year-old to realize that when they're all, like you said, the superstars on their squad. JP, when did you yourself become a part of the junior ice program, and what does it mean to represent the province of Manitoba at such a prestigious tournament like the Brick Invitational?
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, it's been 2 years now because we've had this COVID shutdown. We didn't really get any spring games last year. We had, I think, 50 or 60 hours of practice time, but really not knowing what we had because we never got to face an opponent. So we're really kind of just sinking our teeth into what we have now. It's been really fun. I think, these kids are excited to come to the rink every day and learn, and they want to be on the ice early. They want to stay late. They really have the hockey bug stuck into them, and that's great because when they have that bug, it's easier to teach, it's easier to guide, easier to push and poke them into the right direction. So it's been a lot of fun, and I think going to this tournament, it's going to be a lot of fun. I'm not sure what to expect. I've never been to this tournament. The kids are super pumped. We even just mentioned that word and they start bouncing all over the place and lose total concentration. So I think it's going to be a great, a great tournament, and keys to go out and have fun. What we're going to do, I have no idea. I tell the boys, we go out, we work hard, and once we're done, we're done. We move on to what's next, and we prepare for the next obstacle. And if we get to go play at the pool, so be it. If we don't, I don't really care. I think the boys are going to be so excited to see teams from all over the place and play against other players. And like I said, by the end, they won't know if they won one game or lost one game, but they're going to remember that everything in the dressing room, the mini sticks, to everything around it.
Let's take a quick break, JP. We're going to come back. We're going to talk about this hiatus that we've experienced and the importance of having the 11-year-old team also join in on this tournament so they have their opportunity to shine amongst North America's elite. Stay with us here. We'll be right back on the ice. Sitting down today with JP Vigier, the head coach of the 11-year-old group of the Manitoba Junior Ice, heading to the Brick Invitational at the end of the month. JP, who's going with you from the coaching standpoint?
Myself and Guy St. Vincent. He's our defense and goalie coach from Top Shelf Goaltending. He's got pro experience under his belt, works out of Steinbach, Manitoba. A friend of mine, and we're going to go see what we can do.
See what we can do. What's it been like working? Tell me the process of putting this team together, because like we said, it's the 11-year-old group. It's not the 10-year-old group, which is normally what the tournament is for, but we're still getting the opportunity to see them play because rightfully so, they deserve their chance to shine. How was it putting together this team from the start and where you are at today?
Well, it was a big pain in the butt. COVID got in the way a few times, like it did for everybody. We do our tryout process. I think there's somewhere between 75 and 90 kids that come out, and we slowly work our way down. And my goal from the start was to give the players an opportunity to show what they can do on their own from this, and me watching from the stands, and then get on the ice with them and really start to understand who they are, how they play, and what they can think. Because I think as you bring in a bunch of elite players, they're used to playing their way. And I think it's important to understand as they progress forward, their way is not always the correct way into the coach's eyes. And I could attest to that through my career, having to adjust my game, modify a few things, play to my strengths, but not allow my individual game to take away from the team game. So teaching the players that was very important, and understanding who could think. So we went through a long process, and we dwindled down the players piece by piece till we got to where we are today, where we have, I think we're about 16 players to make that team up.
16 players representing Manitoba. I guess practices happened in Winnipeg. So do we have a lot of players from the Winnipeg area, or do we have players from all over southern Manitoba?
Well, we have a combination of everything. Practices kind of vary. they're usually in and around the Winnipeg area. We have a few players from the city. We have quite a few players actually from the rural areas, anywhere from Russell, Verdun, Brandon, Treeherne, Holland, Manitou, Ile-des-Chênes. They're from a little bit everywhere. So we got guys from everywhere, and there's a commitment to this. This is not an easy program where you can come in once or twice a week. This is, 3 or 4 times a week. Players are coming in, driving a long ways, having a practice, and then going back home. Weekends, we try and add a little bit more so they can stay and get stuff done. But it is not a program for the faint of heart. This is a commitment to try and challenge yourself to see how good you could be in a period of time.
So you talked about the idea, the aspect of the player playing his or her way versus the team way. Has that been hard to implicate or put in place for this young group? And are they, quote unquote, buying into the JP Vigier team way?
Yeah, so let's define this. It's not the JP Vigier team way, it's the hockey team way. The game has to be played a certain way to be successful. And I think through my years of playing professional, I've learned that there's no shortcuts to greatness. The things we do start with a work ethic, and they finish with the work ethic. And the pieces in between those two there can kind of fluctuate. So we look at identifying situational aspects of the game. What's the score of the game? What time is it? Are we winning? Are we behind? Do we have to take a risk at this moment to do something to help my team? Or is it smarter to chip the puck out of the zone and live to fight another day? So teaching those kind of aspects to the players is very important. They all have a skill set. These players can shoot, they can skate, they can pass. But understanding when to do certain things is the key to them to continue to grow their game. It doesn't matter if it's a 1-2-2, a 2-3, a 0-5, an all-out pinch. It doesn't matter. It's how they execute according to the score of the game. So we look at teaching them those kind of concepts because when they're done with me at the end of this and they go to their next coach and the coach changes the system doesn't really matter. If they know when to pass the puck, if they know when to chip the puck out of the zone or take an opportunity to a risk to take a chance to help the team score a goal because they're behind, those are the keys that the coach is going to look for to help them continue to grow their game and their team.
JP, I read this wonderful quote by an older coach just recently where playing the games themselves are for the spectators, including the coaches. Not much coaching really happens during game, but the practices is where the time and the effort is put in. How much are you looking forward to watching all these players at the Brick? And will there be, is it harder or easier to coach an 11-year-old during the game as opposed to the older players?
So it depends which 11-year-old you get, right? They are 11. So some days you get player A and some days you get player B or C, depending on their focus. So I think the challenge for me will be, I want these guys to showcase what they can do, right? So I have to make sure they're focused for the entirety of that little game we're going to play. Before and after, I don't really, my job is to get them reeled in and control that excitement because this is a big deal for them. They've had this marked on their calendar for almost 2 years now. Having 60 practices last spring or whatever we were allowed to do and not play any games was great. We got to sink our teeth into them, but let's be clear, these kids want to play. Practice is boring after a while. I don't care who you are, how fun you make it. They want to play games. They want to battle and compete. These kids are competitors, and I think that's what we're excited for, is to see how they can compete at this, call it a mini NHL tournament that we're going through, right? It's the best on best. I have no idea if we're going to win a game or lose every game, but I think the key for me is to go out there and have fun and let these kids show what they can do and build off that energy.
So you said 60 practices already, lots of travel for a lot of these players from all over Manitoba. If you don't know the map of Manitoba, Russell's about a 3.5-hour drive almost to Winnipeg one way. Let's be honest here. This is crazy. Good on the parents, number one. But you said game times are so important. You said this weekend, just off air, that the boys are playing in a tournament this weekend before heading to the Brick. How important is it this tournament to see game time, game feel versus continual practices? And what are you looking forward to getting up to this weekend and then leading into the expectations, if there are any, to the Brick?
Yeah, first of all, this weekend tournament's important. It gives us an evaluation of where we're at, all the work we've put in practice, has it paid off, and where we need to continue to grow our game to prepare. Once this tournament's over, we have a 10-day window to practice, get back into fixing what we feel is not quite right before we get to this tournament. Because once we get to the tournament, it's 2 games a day. It's it's pretty intense. It's pretty quick. So in the blink of an eyelash, it's done. So we have to be, I know, as a coach would say, finely tuned by the time we get there. There is no fixing when we're there. When we're there, it's ready to rock and let's go. So I think that'll be very important. We're going to spend the weekend pushing the players to think the game, play quickly, play as a team, and make sure they love the game and the battle that they're in. And from there, we continue to grow. Expectations for the tournament, like I said, I've never been there. We haven't faced any of the teams that are going to be there yet, I think. So I have no idea what the expectation is. I think once we get there, we'll start to build our repertoire. The focus has been all on this weekend, making sure that we're finely tuned to this tournament, making sure we showcase ourselves to the best of our abilities and continue to grow as players, individuals, and little people, as we call them. We want to make them good people.
Absolutely. Little people to become good people. Who are we playing this weekend? Is it in Manitoba that we're playing?
Yeah, we're playing here in Winnipeg. It's a 2011 elite tournament. I believe we're playing a couple Saskatchewan teams, an Alberta team. We might be playing an American team. As I said, I don't really look at who we play against. The focus is on how we prepare, how we do our things, and if we have the right attitude going into games, the competition will take care of itself. The boys love to battle. They love to compete. So once the puck's dropped, if we're in the right place mentally, the rest will take care of itself.
So no pre-scouting on the other teams, JP.
Yeah, it's very hard, right?
You don't want to just take a peek in the rink and be like, we're playing this Alberta team next. Maybe we should go check out a period. You don't really.
Well, we'll get some scouting done, but the focus for me isn't, if they have a kid who's 6'2", it's not going to change how we look to prepare our players. We're going to look to, play our game the right way and make sure the boys are thinking the right things. And we adjust on the fly to make sure that they understand that those adjustments are made. But the expectation is that we prepare accordingly. If we do our things, listen to every coach in the National Hockey League, American League, NCAA, WHL. It's not about who they play. It's about who we play and how we play. And I'm a firm believer in if we play the right way, wins and losses will take care of themselves.
It's a fabulous attitude and great philosophy to pass down to this younger generation, because certainly they get lost in all the hoopla of following their greats and wanting to be the next best. And mom and dad expect everyone to be 97 or 29, however your case may be. JP, do you recall some of your great teammates growing up, and have you kept in touch with some of them? And are they kind of surprised to hear that you're still doing what you're doing and giving back to the younger group?
Yeah, I don't think so. I've kept in touch with a few of the guys, all my high school and some of my junior buddies. We still talk. College guys, we talk. Some of the pro guys as well. So hockey's a small family. You're one contact away from hooking up with a guy you played with 15, 20. Hate to say it, 25 years ago. But I think hockey's such a small world. If you're not sure, you ask one buddy, he's got this guy's email or this guy's contact, and you're back in contact. So I don't think so. Once the game sinks into your bones, it's hard to get away from it, right? I've been doing this since I was a kid. It's all I've known. It's all I've done. I never thought I'd play in the National Hockey League. I did. And now, we use those experiences. I tell everyone, I'd love to tell you I was a first round pick by any team, but I've probably been cut more times than anybody and sent back down. So perseverance pays off, and just proof is in the pudding. You work, you do the good things, and things take care of itself. And, I've been blessed to play hockey. Like I tell the kids, I've got piles of injuries. I've showed them x-rays. I've showed them pictures, but I've also showed them the championship rings, the glory, the fun, all the things that come into it. There's both sides of that equation. And you just got to love the game. If you love the game will take care of you, hopefully.
It's never a yellow brick road for every player. Certainly, JP. There's always bumps and bruises and infrastructure that has to get repaired. Trust me, I know. You know as well.
Yeah, totally. And even if you look at Connor McDavid, it hasn't always been roses, right? He hasn't won a Stanley Cup 10 years in a row. He hasn't, sure, he's done a lot of good things, and he's dealt with injuries, broken hands, broken collarbones, you name it. He's had adversity as well. You don't hear about that because he does a lot of good and he does a lot of great things out there, but every player has dealt with adversity. Wayne Gretzky got traded. Enough said. Anything can happen in hockey.
How, I mean, obviously you still watch a lot of hockey. How did Colorado, let's go to the pro games for a quick minute. Why was Colorado so good against Edmonton? What was it that they did that shut down Edmonton? And again, we don't see a Canadian team fighting for a Stanley Cup.
Yeah, Colorado's a couple things that really stuck out to me. The way they controlled Connor McDavid's free ice. So like we did not see Connor McDavid zipping through the neutral zone like we did in the past against Calgary or against the first round opponent. I think you really saw Colorado clamp him down early. They made a conscious effort to take away his speed early, and then the mobility of Colorado. From you look at their offensive players, you look at McKinnon, he was on McDavid. This was the most focused I've seen Nathan McKinnon ever. He was not going to be denied. He was tired of hearing, first round exit, second round exit, blah, blah, blah. He was tight on McDavid all day, and he can skate with him, right? He can skate with them. And then the mobility of the back end of the Colorado Avalanche, Makar, Taves, Manson, and company just didn't quite nullify it, but really kept him in check. You never saw Edmonton open up and freestyle. There were moments of the game where Edmonton took over, but that's going to be expected. But over the parts of the 4 games, Colorado really controlled everything. The details of the game, the energy of the game. They never got consumed. They never got taken away by a cross-check into the boards. They never lost focus. Everything was really detailed on the end product and the steps getting into it. And you even saw after the interviews, they won. Who cares? Next, right? They're ready. They could start tomorrow and they'd be flying. I think the time that they get off allows them recovery and maybe some injuries to come back. But boy, oh boy, they look good.
I didn't expect 4 games. I was very shocked to see that last game. I mean, that 20 minutes of the third period in game 4 was probably some of the best back and forth hockey that we saw. And Edmonton was graciously enough happy to see that. Let's move quickly to the East. You taking New York? You taking Tampa? Come and return back.
I've been biting this one all the time. I've been 0 for 4 in every game so far. I'd love to see a dynasty. We haven't seen a dynasty in forever, and I think we already have seen a dynasty with Tampa in the salary cap era. Give them one more. Them, Colorado in the final would be fantastic. New York would be fantastic in the final too. I just think, I feel Tampa's paying the price day after day, and they're just grinding away. I'd love to see them come through and, have a crack at another Stanley Cup, win or lose, whatever. But I think the NHL is probably hoping for New York, a little bit bigger market, a little bigger, financial gain or media credibility to compete with the NBA and baseball and all those things. But it doesn't matter. The games have been fantastic. There's an evolution into the NHL again. Hockey's taken another step in the right direction. The pace of play has increased. It's still physical, but it's not as dirty, right? Yes, you will see some cheap shots, but it's a contact sport. You're going to get them. It's something you can't avoid. By pure coincidence, someone's going to run into someone and someone's going to get hurt. And that's the way it's going to be always. But I think the game is taking a pace of play, and it's, wow, the skill we're seeing out there. There's no Sherwood 50-30s, and there's very few dump-ins.
No, you remember the 50-30s. I think I played with the Coho Revolution with Lemieux and Yager's curve. That was the stick of choice. It has a bit of an undertow. But our sticks now, like you said, they're made of composites and Kevlars, and they're light and they're lies. I mean, yeah, I enjoy being in the stick room at the Hutch, but that's few, and that's many years ago. Last question before I let you go, JP. How important is it for a player in the Winnipeg Jets organization like Connor Hellebuyck winning the Vezina a couple of years ago, and this year with Kyle Connor winning the Lady in the Bing? How important is it to have players like that as role models for young players in a local community?
Oh, it's huge, right? You talk to any kid in Manitoba, and they're talking about how great Kyle Connor's year was, how he skated with energy. And, he's not dirty. He's fast. He's quick. He's efficient. He knows the game. Connor Hellebuyck, right? He plays his game. He knows he's confident. He's got a mental focus that it's, second to none. I think having those guys as role models is fantastic in the province, right? It helps me help the kids relate to something. When I see something on the ice, I go, did you watch Connor Hellebuck when he did this? Did you see when Kyle Connor, when he did this move at this point? What was he thinking? Why are we doing those things? And it just relates to the kids. The kids, as I get older, sometimes it gets harder to relate to them. But if I can relate it to someone they idolize, it makes it way better.
It's a lot easier to say Kyle Connor's name as opposed to someone they don't know from the 80s, like Brian Trottier or Mike Bossy, right?
Yeah, correct. Wayne Gretzky, who?
Yeah, exactly. JP, will we find you on your knees with some mini sticks in the Brick Invitational as well? Or are you going to be coaching from the hotel room?
I might get in the pool with the boys. The mini sticks on the knees is a thing of the past. If I get down there, I'm not coming back up.
I hear you. JP Vigier, thanks so much for your time. I really appreciate it. Good luck. Hope to see you at the end of the month in Edmonton. Hopefully our paths will cross and we'll have this conversation in person.
Sounds good. Talk to you soon.
That was JP Vigier, the head coach of the 11-year-old group of the Manitoba Junior Ice. They're heading into a tournament this weekend for preparations for the Brick Invitational 2022 in Edmonton. Of course, ASTV will be there. Thanks for watching, of course, bringing more goodness to the greatness here on ASTV. We'd like to have our conversations always. Continue with the Brick Invitational leading up with some more coaches and players. Please stay with us as the month moves on. Thanks for watching. Take care of yourselves. Take care of your family. Take care of your neighbors. And enjoy that wonderful sunshine. Have a great rest of the afternoon and a great rest of the weekend. Bye-bye for now.
Welcome to Pilot Mountain Hockey Academy, your world-class academic and hockey training facility created to maximize each student's athletic and academic potential. Blackjack Stewart Arena, home of the Buffalo, is inside the 46,000 square foot complex, as well as a curling rink and other facilities. The students have a unique combination of successful, well-rounded education at Pilot Mountain Collegiate Institute and the professional hockey training in an encouraging community. The years of experience of on-ice coaching propel our students to the next level, both mentally and physically, in a professional environment.